Last month, in the Just a Minute political analysis of election results in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Chhattisgarh, which saw the virtual ouster of the Congress from the erstwhile BIMARU states, some TV and social media channels give that very lazy argument that, voting patterns in the BIMARU states or the states of the north and the states of the south are very different because of different economic trajectories and also because of different fertility rates. And they felt that because the South is voting in a different manner and the North is voting in a different manner, and that is something to do with the trajectory of population growth and also economic growth in these regions. Now, I find this to be a bit of a lazy argument because, see, in the last 10 years, from the financial year 13 to financial year 23, Madhya Pradesh has been growing much faster than the states of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Kerala. And this also shows that all the southern states are not doing as well. Gujarat is doing much better than Karnataka as well. And therefore, it's important to ask ourselves what is the most important factor in the development discourse? But even before that, let's go back to the concept of BIMARU. It was an acronym which was used for Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and UP. And it was coined by a very famous demographer, Assis Bose, when he was making a presentation to the then Planning Commission when Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister. And he made this statement that the BIMARU states continue to be performing rather poorly on all development parameters because they have a very high rate of growth. Now, this entire argument that because you have higher growth rate in terms of population, your incomes are not going to rise. This is a very lazy Malthusian argument because the fact is that this is something which was being used after the World War by the Club of Rome. It was being used by the First World to sort of project as if the only way to bring about development in the third world, so-called third world, was if there were fewer babies and more development. The fact is that it is the other way around. If there is development, then naturally the fertility rates go down. And the books which led to this sort of a theory included books like The Population Bomb by Paul Ehrlich, and at that point of time, this argument was accepted by everyone from China to Korea to India, Singapore, Malaysia. Everybody believed that this is the strategy for growth. And somehow or the other, we accepted this in India as well. In fact, in 1976, during the 42nd Constitutional Amendment, at least this was not something on which a major amount of debate took place. And when the 44th Amendment reversed many of the decisions taken in the 42nd Amendment, this was one aspect which got a fair degree of consensus. In fact, only two people have gone on record speaking against it, Somnath Chatterjee of the CPM and Shivraj Patil from the Congress. But this was considered to be their position and not the position of their party. In fact, the only party which put its foot down and said that, no, this is not the way in which allocation of resources can be done. This is not the way in which development policy can be transacted. That was Mr. Raghuvansh Prasad Singh, who said that this needs to be debated more. But in general, this whole idea that the limitation of constituencies shall not be held after every census was also something on which there was a fair amount of political consensus in this country. And therefore, 1976, when the parliamentary seats were frozen, then it was decided that all right, the next round of delimitation would be in 2001. But in 2001, again, there was a near bipartisan consensus when we shifted the line to 2026. Now, census has not been held, and the jury is still out on whether the delimitation of constituencies will be based on the revised population. But meanwhile, the 15th Finance Commission, the one under N.K. Singh, had already decided to bring in the 2011 census figures as the factor for determining what ratio of devolved funds will go to the states. It remains to be seen what Mr. Arvind Panigrea thinks about it for the next Finance Commission. Now, what has happened is that over the last several decades, although the world population is continuing to rise, but the rate of growth of population is beginning to stabilize. And even in India, we find that that tier 15 states in which the TFR is now less than 2.1. 2.1 is supposed to be that ideal fertility rate at which population will stabilize, but no population is ever stable. Either populations are rising or populations are becoming less, as we see in the case of Japan, we see in the case of Korea, we see in the case of Germany, we see in the case of Sweden, and in fact, a whole set of countries in Europe and in Southeast Asia are finding that they're not even being able to match replacement levels in their growth, and that's what has led to a new to a wonderful book called The Empty Planet, which postulates that by about 2060 the population of the world will start coming down, and that the peak population would have reached around 2050, and after that the world population will start declining. Now, when populations begin to decline, it has its own set of issues. You cannot maintain infrastructure, you cannot maintain prefectures. Already one notices, and that I can say from personal experience, that there are villages in Punjab and Uttarakhand where the populations are becoming less and less, and therefore schools and ICDS centers are no longer viable in many of these places. Therefore, what we are seeing in our country is also a very interesting phenomenon that already in the south, politicians like Chandrababu Naidu are saying that we should have more children. In fact, Chandrababu Naidu has said that the restrictions which were earlier there on elections to panchayats, if you had more than 2 children, he wants to get that removed. And at the same time, we have Yogi Adityanath in UP who's insisting that there must be a population policy in this country. So the larger issues that we need to discuss are whether growth in population is actually the factor responsible for not growing, or whether population automatically begins to stabilize after growth and development happens. Is it a chicken and egg story? Is there any resolution to this? A lot of these questions, a lot of these debates are being examined in a very interesting book which my friend Ravi Mishra from the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library is bringing out. It's called The South Fares, the North Suffers, Population, Representation, and the North-South Divide, because the fact is that you already have a major variation in electoral colleges for the MPs. How it is going to pan out is going to be a very interesting political debate. So watch out. What is going to happen as the country begins to have a degree of demographic stabilization? But even in this demographic stabilization, the population of the north is growing at a much faster pace than the population of the south. But the economic growth of the north is also catching up with the economic growth of the south. So it's going to be a very interesting phenomenon to watch. Thank you.